Just wanted to highlight a couple of verses from what we just read. Certainly, again, you heard the bigger story of Christmas. We celebrated just now the bigger story of Christmas. But as I was reading John chapter 1 this week, preparing for this, there were a couple of verses that just stood out to me. In verse 5 in particular, it says, "The light shines in the darkness." A few years ago, I was snowshoeing in the middle of winter, when we had snow that year, and out in the Kettle Moraine. And it was an evening. I can't remember how I managed to get away. I had a meeting or something, and I just, instead of coming straight home, I stopped in the Kettle Moraine on the Ice Age Trail. You've heard some of my stories about that. And I was snowshoeing. It was probably December, it might have been mid-January. It was really cold. I remember it was probably about 5 or 10 degrees. Every step you could see your breath coming out, fully bundled up. But if any of you ever snowshoed or hiked, you know that after a while you start to take some layers off, because if you're moving, it actually warms up. It was a crystal clear night. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and it was a full moon. If you've ever been outside in the winter during a full moon, it is just bright, super bright. Like you can see shadows from trees and yourself. I had brought a flashlight with me on that trip. I didn't use it once. In fact, I almost thought I needed sunglasses. It was so bright. And you think about the moon. The moon is actually just a reflection of the sun. And from that was reflecting all around me that there could be shadows. I could walk in the middle of the night and see perfectly clear. John said that the light shines in the darkness. Light has a way, light and dark are not equal. Light has a way of overcoming darkness. It's stronger and bigger and brighter. In just a few minutes, we're going to do, really, I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things about the Christmas Eve service is the candlelight service at the end. And I will hold out as long as I can against all the people who tell me that we're going to start the church on fire and we should go to electric candles, because it's just not the same. I mean, it's like saying, it's just not real. I think we need more real things in life. Okay, I don't think we could just broadcast this and you could sit at home and we could just Skype one another this morning. But God needs us together with real live fire. So I'm going to hold on to that, because the light is brighter than the darkness. And I'm talking about real light. Okay, real light. Not just light that we create on our own. So we can create light on our own. We can just be good, happy people and be cheerful and smile at people. And that will do something like that's good. That makes the world better than being grumpy. Right, Laura? She gave me a great grumpy face earlier. But it's more fun to just look, or her mom and dad said, you look cuter when you're smiling. That's true for all of us. But the thing, you don't need Jesus for that. You don't need a light for that. Just smile. Great, do that. But that's like not the real light. If you want to see the world really light up, you've got to use the real light. Verse 5 says, the light shines in the darkness. But then verse 10 says, the world did not recognize him. The Jews were looking for a king. They were oppressed by the Romans. I've said her name, she's all excited. They were oppressed by the Romans. They wanted someone to deliver them. They weren't looking for a little baby. They were wanting someone to come and rescue them. They were people, some of Jesus' own disciples, called zealots, who had formed these bands and just were waiting for the Messiah to come who could rule them out and conquer the Romans and take over their own country. That's what they were looking for. John said the world did not recognize him. There's it's actually a really old country song. That's probably why I like it. But the chorus says, what if Jesus comes back like that? And in the verses, he's describing all like a broken down hobo, a homeless mom, or single mother, the poor and the destitute, those who we forget and neglect. And the singer says, what if Jesus came back like that? What if he looked like that? Would we notice him? Would we pay attention? Would we be aware? Would we acknowledge him as king? It's interesting because Jesus said in Matthew 25, he said, when you've done something to the least of my brethren, you've done it to me, Jesus said. And when you've ignored the least of my brethren, you've not done it unto me. So the world did not recognize him. They weren't looking for a little baby from an unwed mother who, it was the Holy Spirit. How many times have you heard that story, right? No, it wasn't the dad. So not a high reputation. Certainly from the line of David, there was some kingship in there, but it was pretty diluted at that point. They weren't thinking Mary or Joseph was going to create a king. And then verse 10 said the world did not recognize him, but then verse 12 says, yet to all who did receive him, to those who believed in his name, he gave the right to become children of God. Children of God. You can spend all eternity, and I pray that you do, meditating on what it means to be a child of God, all the inheritance that means, what it means to call the creator of the universe our Father. But like Abba, Daddy, Papa. It says, we receive him, believe in his name, we receive that right. This is a time of giving gifts. Some of you have started already. We're like midway in the Cooper household. We got like 2 more to go. It's like goes all December, it feels like. And the thing about gifts, imagine you're probably, most of you, it's Christmas Eve, so most of you will go home sometime today or this evening, and you'll open up some gifts. And imagine your loved one comes to you and they give you this gift. I picked this out for you. It's not even a gift card. Gift cards, like, I don't know what to get you. But they actually picked something. They knew you so well. They knew what to get. And they said, I picked this out for you. And you say, oh, you shouldn't have done that. You really shouldn't have. I mean, we'll say that. You shouldn't have done that. But what if you just said, I can't take that. I can't even open it. That's too much. Just, you're here, you're with me. That's good enough. No, take it back. Just take the gift back. Sometimes we do that to the gift that God wants to offer us. John said, to those who receive him, he said, I'm giving you this gift. Here it is. You still have to take it. I want you to have this gift. And sometimes we just say, no, you shouldn't have done that. It was too much. I'm not worth it. That's right. You're not worth it. But God says you are. You are worth it. I did it for you. I gave this gift for you. And so he says, believe in his name, and we get the right to become children of God. For those of you who are parents, young parents, or you've already raised your kids, you know that you would do anything for your children. So again, picture God as our Father. He would do anything for us. He sees us as children of God. We earn that right when we receive that gift. And so down at the end then, verse 14 says, the Word became flesh. Well, we've been talking about that. So what Christmas is really, we're celebrating the Word beginning before time, had been around since before time, part of creation in himself, and it became flesh. And then it says, full of grace and truth. See, grace says there's a way out. Grace says, you've messed up, but I am going to make it right. Grace says, you have hurt me, but I'm going to forgive you. Jesus Christ, the Word, is full of grace and full of truth. So truth says not all ways are the same. It's not just, just try harder next time. Just try to be a better person. Truth says, no, there is a way that is different than all the other ways. And truth says that forgiveness has a price. You hear the phrase forgive and forget? Can you really do that? There is a price to forgiveness. You have to choose and say, I am going to forgive you. You know what Jesus, or what God says in his Word? He says, as far as the east is from the west, so far have I removed your sins from you. I just, challenge you. Now on the globe, you can keep walking east, and you'll eventually get to the west, because we live in a globe. But go east, and just stop when you get to the west. Can you ever stop going east? That's what God said. As far as the east is from the west. God says, forgiveness has a price. I've paid that price, and I'm willing to let go. Full of grace and truth. That's what we celebrate. The Word becoming flesh. And it's hard to comprehend. So spend some time this Christmas season meditating on that. But I want to circle back around to verse 8. Because verse 8 says, we are not the light. Let me just quote it directly. He's actually talking about John the Baptist. He himself was not the light. He only came as a witness to the light. I think that is what God asks us to do. We're not the light. We can smile at people and we make their day better, but we're not the light. But God says, come and bear witness to me, the light. Come and be my lampstand. Come and be the thing that the light sits on and projects from. And so as we think about the candlelight service, this candlelight time, this light, I'm not the light, but the light comes from Christ, the Christ candle. And he asks us to be a witness to the light. In other words, to spread the light to others. So you'll see this physically represented. We will be shedding our lights to one another. None of us are the light. In fact, if you want to be the light, you have to be like one of those protesters who douse yourself in gasoline and set yourself on fire. I'm not suggesting that today. I'm saying let the light of Jesus Christ shine out of you, and then you just, look what I'm doing. You hold the light. You just hold the light and let people see it. That's all he's asking us to do. As he did all the work. We just celebrated that. He did all the work. Now we get to testify to the light.